Oh yeah, James Durrell. Yeah, we ran him off
We'll see if he shows up again.
Apologies.
because we were bad and blue and horrible and oh, this looks so wrong.
It's great, actually.
If you're not looking at live on Discord, hey
Yes.
Brett, hey
It
Tom,
actually works
Sandy.
really, really well.
I'm not clicking on that now because that way lies madness. All these people sit here and send me Muppet stuff, and I don't even write Muppet stuff anymore. Pondy asked me on Blue Sky when I was going to write another Pondy story.
I
I
mean,
said no. There's reasons.
but he's asking. He's asking really nicely.
May have to write one just for him. Keep it between us. That way the mouse can't find me.
James
Something
is
like
back. We're sorry,
He is
James.
back.
We're sorry that we ran you off.
Last week. Hey Tim.
Yeah, for those who are not privileged to After Dark, last week was either a great reason why you should be there or a tale why
You shouldn't. Oh no, we didn't. Okay.
we didn't. Phew.
He just vanished. We're like, he's gone. We ran him off.
No.
Oh no.
Oh no, the pitch deck was too much. Pitch storm was too much.
Yeah, the pitch storm was out of control again. Your wife did. I'm not
Understand.
surprised. I'm not surprised.
There is such a thing as spouse aggro, and we understand it.
Well, we're probably not used to people, having a fiction writer who's in the horror genre and crosses all sorts of things with talking about sex, and then somebody who narrates sex partly for a living.
I'm going to have to tally up just all the stuff I've done this year. I think my pseudo has done the lion's share of the work this year. Which, if you told my 18-year-old self that, she would be horrified. Absolutely horrified.
Oh, it's amazing the things we will do when it comes time to dance for the dollar.
So, gathering wife aggro. How does that work? You just put off, oh, I'm not going to do this chore. Aggro gathered. I'm not going to do this other chore. Aggro gathered.
Yeah, pretty much.
Terry used to write sex. He doesn't write sex anymore.
I don't.
He used to write sex, though. I've read some of his erotica. It was erotica.
That's what it was.
It was good erotica, I think. I don't know much erotica, so I really didn't have much to judge it against, but still. Anyway, we're not here to talk about erotica.
We're not. Wait a minute. What episode is this?
This is a different episode. This is V's fault, is what this is.
It can still be erotica.
Okay,
Before I
technically
go
it's
into
wrong.
why
Right.
it is all V's fault, I should say, howdy, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Dead Robot Society. I am Paul E. Cooley. Joining me today, as always, Miss Veronica Jaguar and Mr. Terry Mixon. How the hell are you, folks?
Terrible.
I'm here.
Okay, so let's start with the bummer first.
Romeo, our rescue cat, passed on. And because of all the chaos around here, he went behind some boxes, and I didn't realize he was missing for a couple of days. So that makes me feel very bad. He had health issues, so I guess I'm not overly shocked that he passed on, but gosh, nobody likes to have that happen. That's 2 cats this year that have died in the home. And I'm not exactly a fan of that. So we're going to miss him. And then some cracked tiles in the upstairs shower leaked water down into the downstairs ceiling and caused the ceiling to bow down a little bit. And so we're going to be withdrawing some money from my retirement fund to go ahead and renovate bathrooms. I'm sure that'll just only take a couple of weeks, and it'll only be just a few bucks to make that happen.
And I'm sure there'll be no problems. I'm
There
sure it will
won't
be
be.
completely
No
without
problems.
any friction.
Said no one ever.
Said no one
Actually-
ever.
We have a general contractor that has done work for us before. He's the guy that we go to do just about anything around the house. His brother does external stuff like fences and whatnot. He does internal stuff. And we've known him for We've used him for 20 years, give or take, on or off for various projects. He hires the subcontractors and then he comes and watches them like a hawk. And I have confidence in him because we've known him for so long and used him for so much that we'll go ahead and contact him and get a quote for getting the renovation done for the bathrooms. And if there's a problem, he makes it right. So I don't anticipate that I'm going to run into serious problems with the renovation other than the inconvenience. Come here, Mr. Pollux.
Okay.
Tell Daddy about it.
Aw.
Good boy.
Oh, he's
Well,
so
amidst all that madness, did you get anything creative done? Probably not.
No creative done, which I need to. I need to get my sorry butt to finishing the Empire book. With money being the way it is, it may be the end of the month before I send it off for editing. But I need to get it done because I've got a new series to write.
Yeah.
I've got a short story to write for characters that I only barely know.
That's why you write the short stories, so you know them.
I'm not sure that'll help me that much, but we'll see.
theoretically, it'll be great.
You should be able to base an entire 16-book series on a short story. Come on, what is wrong with you?
Technically, I'm only originally contracted for 6.
Whatever.
The last series, I was only contracted for 3. You saw where that ended.
Oh, and look what happened.
That's why I'm being generous with 16.
Well, I know that the main series that Varian is running, it's so popular, they're up to like book 25 or 26 at this point.
Holy shit.
I'd get bored. I would so get bored.
I would get bored all the way to the bank. Oh, let me go take my paycheck. I'm so bored. Let me go ahead and deposit it. It's so popular. I just don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
Oh my god, I can't imagine writing that much shit in the same universe. That would drive me nuts. That would drive me fucking crazy.
I don't know.
Well, V, what do you know?
I know that I recorded the last stuff for the year, so that was cool. I finished a book this morning. I managed to record 3 books in the space of 4 weeks.
Wowzers.
Which, yeah, it's amazing what you'll do when you have to have emergency dental stuff. And you're not sure how well it's going to go. So you go, hey, let me shove everything together. But yeah, the book was due. The book that I finished today was actually due next Thursday. So I finished, 5 days ahead of schedule? I'll take that. And so I'll have pickups probably next week and the week after. And I already have the first book for next year scheduled, and I'm going to contact the publisher, see if they can get me the script so I can get that marked up. Because
Nice.
it's football romance, and I love that. It's a series I've been doing. This is the last book of the 4-book
Yeah.
series. And so I get to see one of the the goofy sidekick characters. He finally gets his book, and the female main character in the book, she was introduced in the previous book, and they're such polar opposites. And her voice, because I was able to give them all different voices. Her voice, if you take my pitch and then put it with Daria.
Wow.
So just it's that level of kind of bored, slightly, definitely neurospicy.
Well, you know,
so-
you don't actually have to make us
fun.
guess what it sounds like. You could actually just show us what it sounds like.
I could, except it's with voices. It's hang on. I think if I'm right, she sounds she's not psychic. She would probably really question the prevalence of psychics. Yes, I did say football romance. It's a college football romance. It's set in Texas. But there are no Texas accents, so I win.
I don't have
but
a
yeah,
Texas
it-
accent.
I don't have a Texas accent.
Yeah, but it's written really well. I enjoy the heck out of it. So, this is James. This is American football. This is
Gridiron.
usually when you have sports romance, you'll have college level and professional level. And most of the stuff, oddly enough, I've narrated college football romance, which I think is strange because I don't think I sound like college. But I guess I hung around with enough of them for so long I can slip into it.
Well, you know, I've got to say this to James, you know, it has to be an American football romance, because if it was a European football romance,
Oh no.
the guy would just basically fall down and hold
I
his
knew
shin
it.
for about 12 minutes, rolling
knew
around
it.
on the field.
I know. How do they have sex? That's my question. I mean,
Oh, it hurt! Oh!
I say nothing because I do not want to jinx, my audition prospects anyplace. So yeah, we'll just leave it right there. But
You knew I was going there, Paul. You
I
just
knew
knew
you
it.
were going there. The moment you said if it was European football, I was
and
like,
now,
oh fuck, here
although
it
now
goes.
part of me is wondering, will I ever have to narrate go in other contexts?
Now wait a minute. What do you mean nothing ball shaped involved?
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So that's and I've been getting outlining done on my current story. Yes, and that's the thing. Everybody has an accent depending upon where they're from. No one can speak without an accent.
I certainly
I
don't have a
have no
drawl.
accent.
Anyway, the technically Texas drawl, I do not have that.
No, I think what I found is that most people will pick up the cadence first, and that's like the last thing to leave.
Oh, you came up in a conversation my wife and I were having the other day. We were watching, yes, you. We were
dear.
watching something from Britain, a crime series that was recorded over there near Cornwall, and we're like, I can't place this woman's accent. Is she really? Is the accent in Cornwall really that way, or is she like Gaelic or something? It's like, because it was a very strange cadence and way she was speaking.
Cornwall does have a weird accent. So
Are we really gonna start this shit?
Let's see here.
You did, Terry.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
but
we're
those
gonna-
guys
if we're
can't have
gonna go
kids anyway
there-
because they've been bashed between the legs so many times it just doesn't
if
work
we're-
anymore.
If we're gonna go there, then you're just gonna have to have me fangirling on Alona Mayer, because she's a badass. But anyway, so
Don't be comparing gridiron to rugby. I like rugby a lot, but it is not gridiron. Gridiron is a collision sport. Rugby is a contact sport. Two very different things. Very different things.
I can't describe the accent. I do not have the foundation to be able to describe the accent. It just didn't sound like it was from England, but it did not sound like an English accent, not even close to an English accent.
was it? I'm trying to think. Were the vowels really rounded, like the O's and the R's, which is very like everything's coming out from the front of the mouth and rounded?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I'll have to ask my wife what the show was and try to find some way to reference back to it, because it was like, if this was recorded, it was an old show. It was like from 30 years ago, because it was, you could tell from the way it was being filmed. More than that, 40 years ago probably. It did not sound like a pirate accent, so that I would have known the pirate. Oh, we're gonna talk like this because we come from Cornwall. No, I don't think so.
That wasn't that bad. I don't know what accent it was, but that wasn't that bad.
It was a fantasy accent.
I know. I don't pretend accents. Like I said, I have no foundation for this.
Oh man.
Goodness.
So everything is going all right with you, V, is what you're telling us.
More or less, yeah. It's things are clipping along, and Xander, that hurts. 1990 was only 10 years ago. All of y'all just know.
It was 5 minutes ago. What are you talking about?
Hurts so much. So much.
Basically, Devon is the Shire, literally Devonshire. I'm from fucking Hobbiton. Mid-Atlantic pirate accent. That is too damn funny.
Wow.
Well, let's see. What have I been up to? I have been writing like a damn fool as much as possible. So I'm, what am I, 25,000 words in?
Oh shit! So you're more than halfway done.
Should be halfway done. We'll see what happens. I may have to cut a lot of things they may want me to cut. We'll see. We'll see. But we're getting into the nitty gritty of transformation. So I'm having fun. It's so much fun and very awkward to be dealing with sexual parts in a horror setting. So it's been rather difficult to deal with, but I think it's going to have an ick factor of about 11. I have never written anything this disgusting. So I may have to dial it back when we get done. We'll see.
Well, send it in the way you've got it and wait for them to tell you to dial it back.
Well, that's what I'm going to do.
This is
That's
true.
what I'm going to do. Unless one of my alpha readers who's constantly telling me to dial it up says, yeah, you went too far.
I don't even think I don't think even the person said that. I think I just send it in the way you write it, and if they think it's too much, they'll tell you to dial it back.
Well, this is true.
It's always easier to dial it back than dial it up.
It is. It is. There was one scene I backed off of. A character has something happen to them in the toilet, and they don't ever look in the toilet to see what happened. They don't ever look in the toilet. I just described the sounds.
That may be enough, and the fact that you're not being like graphic about like what they see, but just the sounds. I mean, that may like be a huge squick factor, but technically, that's your job. You're a horror writer.
I like leaving it to their imagination because I think they know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
This may be my Cronenberg novel, Tim. This may be my Cronenberg. Paul's way of saying he's writing erotica.
I don't think there's anything erotic about what Paul's
You
writing.
know, there's
but hey, we don't kink shame, so
No, but there's lubrication and then there's lubrication.
I don't want to drink this anymore. Oh man.
Antoine, why is the booty always up there with you? You've got an unhealthy fascination with booty. Just saying. Just saying.
Now we're back to pirates.
Back to pirates. Give me that booty. Give me that treasure. I want your treasure. Well, speaking of treasure, we are here to talk about things that are kind of related to money. A little bit of
Are we?
financial stuff. Yeah. Sort of, kind of.
Sort of, kind of.
Somebody who shall remain nameless, Veronica, is thinking about putting together a Patreon.
Right.
So we're here to talk her out of it.
Yes. So you're either here to talk me out of it or talk me into it, because there are many reasons why I should. There are many reasons why I shouldn't. And I was informed once upon a time that this show was actually started so that the hosts could just kind of talk out their writing challenges with everybody else and figure things out. So I shouldn't feel bad about suggesting topics like this. But yeah, so it's not uncommon for narrators to have Patreons, I found out. And I've seen a couple guy narrators have Patreons where they will invite people, and usually they do live readings, they do advance announcements of what they're going to be recording. They'll have associated Discord servers. So that's kind of what they do. There are people who do some narrators will do live readings on TikTok. I don't have the bandwidth for TikTok. I don't. There's a level of like creation and, curating identities. I just don't. But I do have a Discord server. And there are ways that I can narrate like via Discord and put those out there. But it is always the question of what else is there, because I also write. And the thought of having the Patreon there to provide a sense of accountability, like I have to deliver so many words as a preview. The challenge is that I don't necessarily write what people know me for narrating. And so it's like, I don't know if anybody will be interested.
I don't think
the
that's going to
imposter
be a
syndrome.
problem. I don't think that's going to be a problem. But continue.
So it's what's kept me from putting one up is I don't know if what I'm potentially offering is valuable or wanted or needed.
You'll find out soon enough.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I like the accountability part of it. But and this is a common theme, not just with me personally, but with a lot of content creators. It's the how do I value what I'm doing and what I'm offering, and how do I try not to undervalue it? Okay, so hang on. So Antoine says, just do the Mistress V voice and charge $20. We'd be all over it. Okay, so I get what you're saying. And I could. The problem is, if I wind up creating something like that on Patreon, it has to be exclusively that. Because I have to put up the barrier of that it's 18 plus. And that will that may keep some people away. And that's not all that I do. And that's not what I write. I'm not good at it. I have tried. I kind of suck at it. I can narrate the shit out of it, but I'm not very good at writing it.
Okay,
What?
V. Here we go. This is just for you. You're going to read the Marquis de Sade's 1,000 Days of Sodom. It's in the public domain. You can make it erotic as hell. Skip all the political bullshit and just focus on the sex parts.
She does not look convinced.
No, she doesn't.
Problem is, I saw a stage play with the Marquis de Sade when I was in college.
Marat Sade, by any chance? He's in the insane asylum and he kills Jean-Paul Marat in the bathtub.
No. Maybe? No. No, I just remember it was the first time I ever saw full frontal male nudity on stage. And I was like, oh, well, this is interesting in community theater. I did not sign up for this. So, yeah.
Sounds like Marat Sade.
Yeah, maybe. So it's finding content. And, okay, so James says, just to say I watch WAI, Primitive Technology, Escape to Rural France, and more. They offer nothing really additional for Patreons. It's just for fans, and a lot of fans follow it. Okay.
That happens to me, too. I haven't posted anything to my Patreon for quite some time because I haven't been writing anything for quite some time. And people still continue to support me on it.
Yeah, there are quite a few fans you'll get fans, I hate calling
I feel
them
very
supporters.
guilty about that.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
should.
But they are making the choice that they want to continue to support me, even though I'm not putting anything exclusive up on Patreon.
Okay.
There
And
are
I guess
people
that's... Go ahead.
There are people who come and support the podcasts and everything else, and they don't even check out the extra features or additional stuff or anything. They don't care. They just want to hear what's on the public broadcast to make sure I keep making them. So it really all depends. And I guess that was the other thing I was going to get into is talking about what you could offer and what needs to be offered.
Okay. So here's something. What could be offered? Like you mentioned public domain.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem finding a good public domain story or even series that works, because if you think about it, I can narrate it live. Mm-hmm. I can record it.
I think that's your shtick right there.
I can offer I can offer the completed audiobook free or at just an advanced release at a certain tier.
Right.
And then I can take that file and I can throw it up there and distribute it wide. Because, hey, public domain, and it just winds up being a filler project when I'm not doing other things.
Correct.
Well, this is
Might
not.
I, might I, might I suggest Lady Chatterley's Lover?
Again, the challenge is it going to, I mean, okay. One, do I just have, maybe this is like, I don't know how Patreon works now. Can you have a separate tier?
Yes.
That is that stuff is only for, like, say I had a tier that was only for my pseudo.
Yes, because you can choose which tier your post serves.
Yeah. So I've got 1, 2, 5, and 10.
Right.
The ones are just tips, essentially. 2s, they get early podcast episodes. $5 they get the arcs, and $10 they get everything, including the audiobooks. Anything produced by Paul E. Cooley they get. They get the complete audiobooks before they get onto Audible and all the other services and whatnot. But if I want to do something special just for the ARC folk, I could put something out and say, this content is only available to the $5 tier. Or this piece of content is only available at the $10 tier. Or this particular thing is only available at the Mistress V tier. Whatever that is.
And I believe that you could have two, say, $5 tiers, for one for your main name and one for your pseudonym. It doesn't have to be divided by price. It can be divided by name and still have the same price, if I understand correctly.
Yeah,
but if I do that, doesn't the channel itself then have to be flagged as 18 plus?
That probably is true.
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
But what's to say you couldn't have two Patreon accounts?
God, you're asking me to do a lot to me.
Well, actually, what you probably should do is send them a note saying, I want to do this, but I want to age restrict part of it, but not all of it. What do I do?
They would probably tell me to set up two.
Well, if they do say that, they may have a thing against not having two. That may be a part of their terms and services that you can't have more than one. And I don't know the answer to that question. The real way to figure it out is to send them a note saying, here's my situation, here's what I do, so how do I make this work? And let them give you some advice.
Yeah, and people are going to talk to you about that. They will respond to that, because that's an interesting problem to have. But regardless, you have a way to basically deliver the content to the folks you want to deliver it to. There are ways to do that, when you manage it. And they've actually, as much as I bitch about Patreon, because there's a lot of things to bitch about, they have really redone their interface, and it's a lot easier to create collections. So if you create the Mistress V collection, and that collection is only available to Mistress V supporters. And that can contain, whatever books you read as Mistress V. You could have a collection that's just like public domain works, where you read whatever it is you want to read, and doesn't have to be 18 plus. But the cool thing about something like Lady Chatterley's Lover is not only is it public domain, it's classic literature.
Oh, it's classic literature, so I can get away with classic literature.
Or you could just, on your regular Patreon, if you don't want to do that, you could do something weird like, say, take the various Sherlock Holmes short stories, gender swap all the characters, and run it out.
An unexpurgated edition was not published openly.
And not change a single word. Have Sherlock Holmes the woman speak exactly like Sherlock Holmes the man, use the exact same words, and see how that works out.
Okay, so it was actually really interesting. So if you go to Project Gutenberg, you can go and search, and they now have it where they're browsing bookshelves. So I went and looked on their browsing bookshelf in science fiction and fantasy, and they have a bunch of short story collections from like Weird Tales and all that from the 50s, and they're technically public domain. So technically, if it's public domain, then you can create a derivative work from it.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, you are correct.
So it's possible to go in and gender swap or change a character to make it more palatable. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. That is, once it's in the public domain, you can print it all yourself, by yourself. You can take the characters, you can run with them, you can change the words, you can do anything you like to those because it's in the public domain.
Because one of the challenges that you get, well, the two challenges that I have looking at stuff that's in the public domain, one, it's not always working for a female voice.
Sure.
And two, a shit ton of it is horribly racist and sexist, and I
Yes.
do not want to do that.
Yes, indeed.
So yes, that often throws things out the window. But I stumbled upon a handful of interesting short stories. Okay, so Brett, yes, you can have multiple Patreon accounts, and Tom mentioned this as well. If you're a creator or patron who'd prefer to have different accounts for different things, you can. Okay, so if I want to manage more, I can. Interesting.
Steam Bore Willie.
Boat.
Stambor Willie. That sounds.
I like the
don't-
typo better. I like the typo better. Stambor.
I feel like this is some.
Why do I see this character that's from South Africa coming on there, and he's dressed just like Winnie the Pooh, but he's dressed like, you know, some outdoorsy guy, and he's like, oh bother.
No, you're that. What
I
that's
can't do that. I
coming
can't do the
across-
thing.
That's coming across as like Andy Serkis from Black Panther. Because
No,
his
not
character was one. That man can do any accent. I am totally certain. But he does a wonderful, like really deep, gritty Afrikaans accent in there. But yeah,
When I was driving a cab in the 90s, I picked up a group of people that had flown in from the airport that were from South Africa, and they were speaking Afrikaans in the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
That is a supremely harsh language.
it is. It's very, very. It's very harsh. It's very guttural. It's very middle of the mouth bitey.
It's Dutch on
Yeah.
just in but it just sounds so different from Dutch.
It's Dutch that caught you in an alley, beat you, and turned out your pockets.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So
What if Nigel Thornberry was Winnie Pooh coded? I don't know what a Nigel Thornberry is.
a '90s kids cartoon,
Oh,
The Wild
okay.
Thornberries, and Nigel Thornberry was actually voiced by Tim Curry.
Oh.
But yeah,
Well, really, if you're interested in Winnie the Pooh, you should see Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. You got to watch that horror flick.
I do.
Gotta see it.
So
Oh, yeah, it's
one
a 10 out of 10.
One of the public domain articles pointed out that Popeye hits the public domain in 2025. So
Shit.
So we can assume that we're going to get like, Popeye the Slayer Man. I am what I am. Wink, wink.
Four-eyed the Spinach Man.
No,
The mind boggles.
oh Lord. So, okay,
What else you got?
all right. So, I had a post-it note here. I did. Or maybe it was like. This is the problem. I have post-it notes and notebooks everywhere. I'm like, did I write that down someplace?
You were just so disorganized for an obsessive compulsive person. That makes no sense, actually. Those things should go together. Being organized and obsessive compulsive. What is going on with you?
I know exactly where it is. It's just like in the kitchen in my purse. But I have post-its here. So, but the stuff that I thought that I can like offer. And okay, so Tom, you're pointing out the Wizard of Oz books. Yes, I have attempted to do those because they're actually relatively short and there's a ton of them. And it's, it's something that a lot of people enjoy. So there is that. But understanding what I can do with derivative works helps. But there's putting out my own writing as first draft or whatever for accountability. There's live recording sessions. One of the challenges in that is making sure that I can either do it public domain or if I have permission from the author or publisher, I can do live sessions, and invite people like once a week for an hour or whatnot, and watch me goof off in the booth.
You got to do a
Pretty
booth
much
tour.
Look, here's the closet. Padding, padding, padding. Monitor, microphone, padding, padding, padding.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
I know. But
I get asked, what does your desk look like? And I'm like, you don't want to see my desk.
you don't
I'm
wanna
embarrassed
see
to
my
show you
desk,
my
right?
desk. It's all cables.
I haven't
Everywhere.
done this in like 2.5 weeks. It's really bad. Okay. So here's the issue with that. It is not uncommon for audiobook folks, so audiobook listeners, to get to a point where they harass voice actors. And it's happened with male narrators, and you'll have listeners going and sliding into their DMs, harassing them, asking what they look like and all this. And it gets problematic. And while I would like to believe that I am never going to encounter that, I don't want to tempt it. And it's like, and the challenge is, just from a narration and acting standpoint, when you get into those things, even though you're not the one, like, it isn't your words and you're not the character, it gets incredibly personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not comfortable with that wall, I need some distance in order for it to be effective. And I mean, I had to stop my recording session yesterday early. I could have finished the book yesterday, but I would have wound up ending the session on a really emotionally challenging note. And I would have been there are times I have to stop, go walk around the house, do something that's completely different because I'm in tears when I leave the booth.
Mm.
And I don't need people to see that. I'm an ugly crier. Ugly, ugly crier. So yeah.
So what you need to do is you need to read read aloud Middlemarch or something like that, where there's lots of violence and manly men doing manly things, and then you don't have to cry about it.
Oh, so vacuuming and doing the laundry? That's awesome. You said manly things.
Love it. Love it.
But okay. So there are those things. And that's yeah. There is the stigma. And
If you weren't already on a podcast, you could do a whole shtick about this. Even though this makes absolutely no sense, it would be hilarious to run this out anyway. You have you completely black out video. You start off to, oh no, we're talking with this voice modulator that you can't understand our voice, and then you narrate and it's your voice. You're like, it makes no sense, but you can't know my identity, but I'm going to narrate my own voice. Hey,
Flash Gordon is not in the public domain. They're still making new shit.
No,
Yeah.
that does no. Just because they are making new things does not mean the older stuff is not in the public domain. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying that continued production on something does not obviate things going into the public domain from the early works. For example, some of Disney's early work on Mickey Mouse is now entering the public domain. And that does not obviate the fact that they're still doing Mickey Mouse. Just keep that clear in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But
Yeah.
I guess the reason I'm saying that is the Flash Gordon comic strip ran as a Sunday strip from 1934 until 2003.
So the character is in fact in the public domain or will be very shortly.
Will be soon. And daily strip from 1940 to 1944 and 51 to 1992. Reprints of the Sunday strip were syndicated by King Features Syndicate from 2003 till 2023, when Flash Gordon was relaunched with a new daily and Sunday strip. I had no idea the thing was still going. No clue.
Yeah, it's very popular.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
So
Yeah, Steamboat Willie is totally in the
Yeah.
PD.
So
Oh,
what else? What else do you put out on Patreon? Not like I don't follow people on Patreon. It's not like I follow authors who put out like alternate art for their books. I don't have that. Nobody wants to see the shit I draw because I am so out of practice. It's not even funny. And
You need to think of Patreon as kind of like a newsletter with content. So basically, people are going to want updates. If I don't give an update in a while, people get antsy and wonder whether or not I've died. So I have to tell them at least, once every couple of weeks, hey, I'm still alive. Here's what's going on, and this, that, and the other. That helps. Offering blog posts, like if I'm doing research, like on Sakulina, or when I was doing research on the Medusa Zone, I basically was sharing all my research with the patrons, and I didn't tell them why, I didn't tell them what, I just put it up there and started talking about it, and that was enough to start some conversations. And they appreciate looking at some of that stuff and going, I never knew this existed, or whatever else. It's just sharing those moments of serendipity with them actually goes a long way. I mean, that's really what they want to, what some of them want to do is they don't just want the finished work. They want to see the creative mind at work. They want to know the kind of stupid stuff you're doing and where you come up with it.
so
Let me go ahead here. I've been looking this up here. Buck Rogers, the character of Anthony Rogers, was first in Nolan's novella Armageddon 2419, published in August of 28, and is currently in the public domain. Has made it into the public domain this year, just recently this year. The comic strip, the first season of the Buck Rogers comic strip, will go into the public domain in 2025, and then each year, another year of the comic strip will go into the public
okay,
domain.
that makes sense.
Flash Gordon was originally published in January 7th of 1934 and will go into the public domain. The first year of the comic strip will go in 2029.
Okay, yeah, because the stories and the illustrations are two separate properties.
That's
So
correct.
That would be
The,
it.
the character, the characterization, the names, the events that happen to those characters in there. Like, for example, if the character wore a certain type of clothing that he was well known for, if that is portrayed in the comic strip, the fact that he wore that clothing is still something that you can use. You couldn't draw an image of him in that because that might be a different sort of thing, but there you are. For a while with Sherlock Holmes, because Dr. Watson was married in some of the very last episodes of the short stories that were put out, you could write about Dr. Watson, but you could not mention that he was married. You could not mention his wife until that story went into the public domain.
Unless you got explicit permission from the estate.
And you did not. Never, ever. What?
Caleb Carr did, but that's because they commissioned him to write in the universe.
Okay.
So
But now all of Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain. In the United States, the laws about public domain vary from country to country.
Yes.
So it really depends on where you are.
Right. Okay.
I would never talk about private islands, James. Never.
Welcome to Fantasy Island. Tattoo, get up off of that thing. What are you doing down there?
Welcome to Sexy Island.
Oh my lord.
Xander says to start with like one tier and get some early writing. If you feel comfortable with that and everything else on your plate, maybe add those live voiceover stuff for like an hour, like once a month. So like Xander says, he sets up friends and peers with setting up Patreons and Ko-Fis and such. There's one thing I tell them is to start small with anything. Tiers, rewards, etc. Start as small as you possibly can. I would definitely agree with that. Do not write checks your butt can't cash.
Right. And that is a big concern. Yes, Cthulhu is public domain. Most of Lovecraft stuff is public domain.
All the Lovecraft stuff is fair game.
But yeah, so you talk about research. So for me, that's often finding words I have to pronounce, fun phrases I get to learn to pronounce in various languages, working on new accents. I haven't done that for a while, but in a recent book, I had to pronounce a Russian phrase and had to practice it over and over because the words were kind of strung together. The authors didn't have native speakers, and I think they may have used Google Translate. But it was like, what was it? It was like stop stop right there, don't move or we'll shoot, in Russian. So that was fun. But that's the stuff that I wind up doing, or finding like pronouncing words, or learning what the pronunciation is with a different accent.
Yeah, but I think that stuff is fun to people who are really audiophiles and into voice narration. Finding out how you do some of those things with accents and everything else is very helpful for other people just to listen to it. Voices, yeah, that's what I meant.
Well, no, it's the same thing. Accents and voices are two totally separate things, because I'll have to figure out how to. That's the thing. So people like bloopers, but the way that I record, I don't get bloopers. I do punch and roll. So it's more like watching a live recording. If I screw up, it's either because my stomach growled and I heard it and I get annoyed. I bite my tongue and I stumble over words, bite my tongue. It's a problem. Or I misread something, and usually it's son of a bitch, motherfucking. And I just, go on a tear, stop, repeat what I'm actually supposed to say. Or sometimes it's that's a typo. What do they actually mean? Well, I guess I'm going to try this because that makes sense. Okay, record. So I don't have bloopers, but that's why the live sessions would be amusing, because I'm going to screw up. It's you just don't know when. It's a fun surprise that's waiting to happen.
I had about 30 seconds of me constantly trying to say the same fucking sentence last time I recorded. It was enough to make me just want to smash my head into a wall. I just could not get it out. It was just like, I wrote this shit, I can't pronounce it.
I have the same sort of thing with somebody else doing narration for me and trying to say one word, just failing over and over again.
Which
going, really?
word?
I don't know
Which
at
word?
this point. I can't remember at this point.
I've heard that particular outtake. Bloopers are fun with context. If I saw bloopers for Shrek and have never seen the movie, would the bloopers be funny? Who knows, but probably.
And the other challenge with bloopers is that if you're posting it, that's a lot of extra work.
It is. It's a lot of work.
And part of what I'm trying to do is figure out what content that I'm already doing that I can reuse and put up there without having to do more. So the whole work smarter, not harder nonsense. So
when we did Starla Huston's novel, she had us record but not edit anything. So she got to hear all the bloopers, and then basically she made a blooper cam afterwards of all the different bloopers from all the different voice actors, which was pretty funny.
Yep.
Look at that cat.
And that's the thing. If you're, this is my armrest with the purring.
Of course. We know who takes the seat cover off now. Look at those nails.
Yes, he takes my skin off the same way.
Can I help you? Do you need to be on camera? Are you going to yell at me for food?
One of these days, we're going to get Terry a new chair, but I'm not really sure they've made a chair that's cat-proof.
They have not. Not unless it's, like the one from Game of Thrones.
That seems like it would hurt your ass. I'm just saying.
It does seem that way,
seems like a
doesn't it?
very uncomfortable chair. Maybe it's just start
I
hiding typos.
I had a cover that I used for this, but it got tore up, and the cats decided that they liked marking it, so that turned out to be a bad idea.
Yeah, that's not good.
I won't know who did that. Was it you? Was it you? Come here, you. Come here. Oh, big cat. Oh, thud.
I lost a brain cell, Dad. I don't know where it is. Is it over here? Is it over? I don't know, Dad.
Hopeless. What other questions you got about Patreon? Concerns?
How much is enough, and how much is too much? I mean, I'm really bad at pricing things. You know how long it took me to convince myself that I was worth like the SAG-AFTRA minimum when it comes to narration? I'm awful at this.
I think the easy
I
thing
don't want
is
to waste anybody's time.
I think the easy thing to do is say, put a $1 version out there for tips. They don't get anything else. They just get tips in public posts. And then basically decide if you want to do like a 2 or 3 or a 5 or a 10.
Five.
Just depends on what you're doing.
Don't start
Five's
at 2
a
or
good
3.
number.
Start with 5. If you're going to have something more advanced than that, go with 10. Don't go ahead to the middle routes. Just stick to 5 and 10s.
I got 1, 2, 5, and 10.
And or
Lightning.
15s.
And or 15s.
Or
How long's a
20
piece of
for
string?
Mistress V.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know if
Interesting
don't-
question, Xander.
yeah. That's a
I
very
think
good
you
question.
get paid regardless of how little it is. I think you get paid every month. I don't think there's a minimum. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a 15K slot, and that slot is literally just for bragging rights.
You
Put it this
know,
way: $5 is 2 coffees a month. Not even close, actually, but still.
that now I'm getting ideas for like one of those like, angel donor level tiers.
Well, I was also going to bring up Buy Me a Coffee is another way to go. It is less frills than Patreon, but you make more money per donation or whatever else, and it has feeds and such like that, just like Patreon does. It does not have a lot of the things that Patreon does as far as libraries, collections. I think they're starting collections now, but they don't have the same kind of library looking through or searching. So it's still not quite there yet with Patreon, but it offers basically essentially the same stuff.
Okay.
So it's and I like BMAC. I like BMAC a lot because I try and take care of people, and they're not really doing some of the shenanigans that Patreon has done in the past because
Yeah.
they're not owned by major dickheads. So it's a big of a difference. And Francis seems about right. €250 for a cafe allongé. Yeah, but €250 is what in dollars right now? Cafe allongé. The thing is, you have like real coffee shops. We don't have those anymore. All we have is fucking Starbucks.
I mean, at least where I am, we don't have like real coffee shops. I think the last real honest to goodness like gourmet coffee shop I went to was in Dearborn when I was on vacation. And it was, oh my God, it was this like Middle Eastern, coffee and pastry shop. And it took them 10 minutes to make me real, like
Turkish
honest
coffee.
to goodness Arabic coffee. And if you have not had it, just like the cinnamon and cardamom and other spices, it's so good. And I stood there and waited 10 minutes while they made it on the stove because,
Because
we
that's
don't
worth
have
it.
anything like that here. Oh, yeah.
We've got
Oh,
a couple of coffee shops nearby that I patronize occasionally that aren't Starbucks. I refuse to go to Starbucks or Panera for that matter. But I don't get out too much these days because I'm becoming more and more hermitized, isolated,
Hermitized.
on an
Yeah.
island, a private island, my own private island in my head, something like that.
Back to the private islands. Jeez.
Back to the private islands. It's all about the private islands. Where I am, there are real coffee shops. Yeah, I know. You're lucky, Brett. You're lucky. You got real coffee shops everywhere where you live. He lives in the city. You still
In the
expect to
city?
pay a minimum of $6, 10 if it's like fancy. Yeah. Yeah, coffee's another thing, by the way, that's going to get a lot more expensive because there's been 2 crop failures in Brazil and Africa.
Oh dear.
So prepare. Chocolate and coffee are going to get really fucking expensive next year. He says as
That's
he
a
drinks
discussion
coffee.
for, yeah, that's a discussion.
No, that's not discussion. That's a rant for another time.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, anyway. Okay.
What else
So-
you got?
It's a lot to chew on and put together. I'm not worried about like structure and graphics and all that because that
Well,
compared to that shit's easy. I guess, and I mean, is there an issue with having so many different genres contained in one spot?
they're coming for you. They don't give a shit about the genres. They're coming for you. They're coming for what you produce and what you're reading, regardless of the genre. I don't think that's really an issue at all.
Okay.
Because if you offer stuff that people haven't read or haven't heard before that's in a different genre, chances are they're going to give it a shot. So I wouldn't worry about that. If that book's not for them, then maybe the next one is.
Maybe. Leo says not to worry. Leo's like, I'm gonna nom fingers. If I remember how to nom.
I don't think he remembers how to cat.
Oh, he just remembered.
James, come on.
After dark.
After dark.
But no, I mean, it's. And is there anything that I'm not thinking that could be offered that I haven't put out there?
Be very careful with how you phrase those things.
I
Your phrasing
understand.
is so poor
Be
right
very
now.
careful.
I don't think there are any. I don't think there's any. Well, okay, you're offering your voice. You're offering your
There's,
writing.
there's voiceover, there's writing, there's
What else is
voiceover
there?
research.
Yeah.
There's audiobook research.
Yep.
There's previews of upcoming stuff. If samples are out there, then I can post samples with permission of the author before stuff goes live. I
She already has an OnlyFans. She's just not telling us.
right, totally. Yeah.
That's what you would say if you
I'm
had
not
one.
saying. I'm not saying that
I-
you're doing things to afford college. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm simply saying the voice is on OnlyFans. No.
No, because again, valuation and like believing things that's there, but yeah.
Now wait a minute, Jr. I have people, especially Terry, asking me to strip all the time. So surely he's got some dollar bills out.
And besides,
Oh.
we know
Jay.
that if Paul had one, JR would be the first one to sign up for one of those angel tiers.
JR is here. You were asking earlier if there was a minimum amount that they wouldn't pay you for. JR would certainly know that. I think he only makes like $3 on his Patreon.
Oh my God, damn. Jesus Christ almighty, it got violent in here. Xander says, but I think it's a good start, extra chapters, writings, and then if you do voiceover, live streams, or videos, that's just a bit more. I wouldn't worry about doing more until you fill out the minimum stuff. Yeah.
Okay. I guess my biggest concern is putting. I saw that, Brett, and that looks kind of cool. So but it's like you have to put like all of the self-doubt aside, because I'm like, who would pay me for this shit? When people hire me to narrate stuff. So it's one of those things. Yeah, I know. Don't assume. Stop second guessing. Stop.
Straight to
stop-
Patreon. see
Assume
how
it's
it
going to
goes.
succeed and go from there.
Yep. All right, this is the other Terry. Long wait for the OnlyFans pics of Paul to go into the public domain. There
Yeah,
were
I
some
think-
steamy things that happened
declare.
at Balticon, but you missed all those.
I mean, I have some of these pictures. I have a handful of them. I mean,
Oh shit! I owe you your monthly bribe, don't I? Fuck! I'll get that to you. Patreon is a long-term investment. Takes time to build it up, like a snowball rolling downhill. Takes time till it's a giant snow boulder rampaging around town. Correct.
Yep. And
Correct.
ideally, it's the sort of thing that gets built into my weekly routine.
Yeah.
And it's just something that's there and promoting stuff. And, yeah.
One thing I could do that I'm not doing is basically put in excerpts of what I'm writing. Occasionally, give them something
You're
that
not?
without any context.
I mean, Terry was posting like first drafts of his stuff when he wasn't writing under contract.
Right.
Right. I'm writing under
Which-
contract.
He's doing the same thing that I am, so he doesn't have that option.
I can record it, but I can't put out. What I could do is basically put out an excerpt or two of what I'm writing with no context whatsoever. I can do
Yeah,
that.
and that's the thing.
occasionally.
I'm technically writing under contract, so I can't necessarily do anything with that.
Yeah. All right, last question. When is an author at a place in their career to justify the Patreon type account?
Excellent question, JR. I can't believe I actually said that. But that is a great question.
He is the whipping boy around here. Woo!
He shows up, gets
You
spanked
feel
around.
you feel
show
love,
ends.
JR?
I think that's really something you kind of have to figure out on your own at what point that career is. How many books do you have? Oh my God. All right, now I saw Terry in like the Blue Oyster Bar get up with the leather and the whole deal.
Oh my goodness.
Pass the brain bleach. Anyway, I think it's more along the lines of what Xander said. It is a long-term investment. You could start it early and basically start pimping your stuff in there. It just depends on what you do. But the way Patreon works is patrons will find you if you're putting out content. They will give you a shot for a month to see what your content is like. They will do stuff like that. And of course, now Patreon has changed things where you can give like basically reader magnet type things where people can come and get a free piece of content and check out, and you can sell posts, just posts. I'm going to sell this one post, or I'm going to sell an entire collection for money. So I could theoretically put the entire Black Series on Patreon up for sale for some price, and probably make more money than going through Audible or something like that. So there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat. Wow, I should not have used that one.
We don't want to do that. We don't use.
We
those
don't do that
metaphors
sort
here.
of thing here.
There's a lot of ways to skin that tree. No, it doesn't. There's a lot of. You know what? I'm going to give up. There's a lot of different things you can do.
There's a lot of ways to peel that banana. Wait.
Could you
there's
do
only
that
one
to
way to
little
eat a banana.
bug? Little bug says no.
She says, "I'm tired of your shit."
I can't deal with this. Let me go.
You scared her off.
But if you're in KU, you have to pull content after publication, right? No, you don't. So it'd be an evolving list of material for them. No, you don't.
You don't have to. So
you
the
don't.
thing is, it's when you serialize. I don't understand this. If you serialize something, so if you serialize audio as part of a podcast, you can still put that book up in Audible, and those two can coexist separately. So if you're serializing something when you first put it out via your Patreon, and then you take the collection and go to KU, you're fine.
As
Because
long
technically,
as you're not
it's-
selling it, you're fine. Kindle
Yes.
can't do a fucking thing.
Right.
It's your
Oh,
book.
they can absolutely do whatever they want because they're the Amazon gorilla, but they probably
They're not going to
won't.
bother. They're not going to
No.
bother.
But
They're
if
not
you
gonna
if
bother.
you have that, if you have a tier where you are releasing your writing, you can put, from what I understand, you can put that out there as part of a weekly or monthly post, and put chunks of it, and chunking it up, and there are other things there. So it's just part of the monthly thing. They're not explicitly paying for that. You can't itemize that versus whatever out of a pledge.
That's the other thing. It's behind a paywall, so Kindle can't see it. That is
Okay,
correct.
also good point.
So they do have a big deal. You cannot sell it, period, if it's in KU. But that's not the same as Patreon. If I'm serializing a chapter at a time, that's not, KU can't do anything about that because it doesn't violate their TOS. So fuck them. It's my personal opinion. Fuck them. Stuff on things like Royal Road gets subbed and pulled because it's going on KU. I can see that. But Royal Road is public. You're putting it behind a paywall. You're not selling the work. You're selling access to the work. It's a different animal. So just stuff for you to think about. We have stayed on topic for the most part and beat the shit out of this hour. So, I mean, we're at an hour and 4 minutes. So I guess I better do the sign off. If you have a question or comment about this show, you can go to DebRobotSociety.com, punch that contact button link, and send us an email. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS Podcast, where we are live every Saturday, mostly at 3 p.m. CST. Like and subscribe so you know where we're live. You can find us on Facebook at the Dev Robot Society Writing Community at facebook.com, where we mangle all the madness. And if you want to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS Podcast and buymeacoffee.com/DRS Podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive live shows like DRS After Dark, which is coming up in about 5.5 minutes. And at the $10 level, you get your name read, and our $10 patrons are Juan Valentin, James Terrell, Nate Cosby, Antoine Batts, Tony L. Joy, Rick Shaw, Lisa Slack, Isabel Cushy, and Tim Niederreiter. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible. And with that, we are going to get out of here and go entertain our After Dark folks.
Yes.
What are we
And
gonna
thank
do
you
for
very
our-
much for.
Well, you've been threatening to take your clothes off for years.
No,
I don't
you've
know
been
what we'll do
threatening
for
for
After
me to
Dark.
take my clothes off for years. It's two different things. Two very different things.
So come to After Dark for the cage fight, where we will see who threatens who to take off what.
Get your ruler out, Terry. We're gonna measure. Okay. On that note, have a great rest of the afternoon. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.